Yes, I am a journalist, and at the same time, as I was saying, I now work for the Embassy of the Republic of Sierra Leone, which is my country, and I have been there for the past 6 months. I work there as an administrator. And my research, my study was, I did a little study on how, the title is How and Why the Security Sector Failed to halt the war in Sierra Leone. Yes, how and why the conflict mechanisms failed to halt the war in Sierra Leone. I should inform you, I was in Sierra Leone, I was in Liberia, I was student at the University of Liberia, and I worked there as a journalist, and I went to Sierra Leone in 1991. That was before the war broke out. I was in Liberia when the war broke out, and I went to Liberia, I went to Sierra Leone, and then I was covering the war for several news media. And so I'm an insider. I was an insider. I saw everything what happened. So now, basically, I'm talking about, give you a brief background about the war in Sierra Leone. There has been a misconception. Many people thought the war was really over diamonds. I would say because the troubled areas are usually areas where there are resources. You refer to DR Congo and refer to other countries. But in Sierra Leone, I should say really the trouble really was over bad governance. Trouble was started by bad governance. There was a lot of personalization of politics in the country, and eventually we saw that there was a lot of corruption, and then the middle class disappeared. So in Sierra Leone, you were either a rich person or a very poor person. So it was in an attempt to reappropriate the national cake that unfortunately the rebellion started by people who were not, they didn't have a culture of democracy. That means it was started by Foday Sankoh, as you all know, but someone who really didn't have any notion of good governance or have any experience about government or administration. So that is briefly what I will say about the causes of the war, how the war started, so that I can be able to remain in the 10 minutes that we have here, so very little. Then I will talk about the conflict prevention mechanisms in Sierra Leone. In Sierra Leone, I was able to identify 3 conflict prevention mechanisms, starting first with the security sector, which I consider as one of the main conflict prevention mechanisms in Sierra Leone. And then the second one I was looking at was also the civil society. I was basically looking at the interfaith, religious-based kind of civil society groups that come together, Muslims and Christians, trying sometimes to resolve conflicts. We realize that in most other countries where there have been conflicts, we see Muslims and Christians easily coming together with the hope that we try to prevent a conflict. But that, in many cases, have not worked. They didn't work in Liberia, they didn't work in Sierra Leone. Then, I looked at the other conflict prevention mechanism or institution or tool I could call was the family institution. That also failed in Sierra Leone because when the war broke out, it was like in Liberia when Chancellor came with the war. I think the father decided to talk to him so that he would backpedal, that he would leave this issue about the war and then discuss this issue, go through the ballot so that he can come to power. When he was just about 3 months in the revolution, when he started the war, his father was sick in the hospital. I was one of those journalists who went there with a satellite phone to try to, so that, because the idea came from someone that the father maybe could talk to his son and then he could ask him maybe he could resign on that decision, not to pursue the armed struggle. But that also failed. And in Sierra Leone also we realized that also failed in Sierra Leone. Then the other very serious conflict prevention mechanism we had in Sierra Leone, but which was not exploited, and maybe that could have also failed, was the secret porous society. We have a society which we call a porous society. That is a society mainly for male. Sometimes there are females that belong to that society. influential women who belong to that society. That's a conflict resolution mechanism or a tool I refer to. That was not exploited. That option was not exploited in Sierra Leone, but I'm not very sure it could have worked as well. So also what I'm saying that almost all the conflict resolution mechanisms that we thought could have helped, they didn't really work out. Because people were frustrated, they knew that the only way to resolve that crisis was through armed struggle. And so they had to go ahead with the armed struggle in Sierra Leone and in Liberia. Then basically, I would definitely put out so I can just stay within the time limit, and I would go now to the role of the media in the war. Well, you see, I was caught in between two. I was at the same time myself, while I started in the war as a journalist, and then I ended up as a soldier myself. It's sad to say, but I was at one time called to serve as a public relation proxy in the army, but at the time I was recruited, it was a mercenary force from Liberia and other places. They decided, well, we cannot have you as a public relation proxy as a civilian. We would prefer that we give you a crash training so that no one will be responsible for your death in case you have to die and protect yourself in the event of any attack. So I had to go on some crash training, and it was a 2-week training, was very intensive. So my commander used to tell me all the time, say, more sweat, less blood. And so the role of the media in Sierra Leone really was both positive and negative. Although we didn't have the kind of media like the big audience we have in Rwanda, but in Sierra Leone, the negative, I will start with the positive aspects played by the media. One of the positive things I learned that the media was doing was that they were writing very factual, very informed and honest presentation of news that really helped a lot of people to save their lives. Because as part of the war in Sierra Leone, the soldier, the government media and the military, the Ministry of Defense was not really coming in very straight, as most of you maybe know about the story in history. The army was divided, and so we had the army. There were rebels inside the army. We used to call them Sobel, because it's a soldier and a rebel, so we call the one Sobel. And there were soldiers in the day, and in the night they were rebels. So they abated very seriously with the rebels, and they gave the rebellion a very serious assistance. And that's led to the assassination, to the killing of about 12 military officers, amongst them some civilians, back in 1998, just when Tiakuba took power. Because of those, they wanted to get rid of those soldiers who were rebels at the same time. So they tried them and they found them guilty and they were executed. The war, the media, that was one of the good aspects that the media played. It helped to inform people that something was going on here, and then tomorrow maybe it is not good for anyone to be going on there, because they suspected that a rebel attack would take place in the north. And tomorrow we'll read the newspapers, and the next day you will hear that the rebel attack really took place. So the people didn't want to listen to the government media anymore, or to the Ministry of Defense communiques. The media was then doing a very good job. The negative aspect that the media was playing was that the media, well, because due to the fact that the media was also lacking training, this is why the Committee for the Protection of Journalists one time said that the media in Sierra Leone was biased. It said Sierra Leonean news outlets and press are dangerously split along political lines, while reporters admit taking bribes and using their news organizations to settle personal scores. And that was very true. I can admit to that because myself, before even I went to the army, I was in the media, I was in the independent media. I can admit that I took bribes sometimes. Because sometimes in the form of bribes, we used to call them a kato, because someone tried to manipulate you somehow, but it was because there was another threat behind it. If you don't receive that bribe or that kato, you may end up in some circumstances that may be regrettable. Then, so the justification of my study, I said how and why the security sector failed to hold the war in Sierra Leone. Is the security sector really failed to hold the war because in my studies, I came across a document which was also quoted by working paper series on security system transformation in Sierra Leone. That was it's London-based global facilitation of the network for security sector reform. And that this is a document I was looking for to justify my study that the security sector failed to hold the war in Sierra Leone. And that document I found this very important two short paragraphs, which says that in September 1990, a refugee walked into the Sierra Leone Police Special Branch, which is one of the country's intelligence gathering services. And then this refugee filed a 13-page report about an alleged plan to attack Sierra Leone. While that report was being passed through the security structures, there was no response in preparation for a potential attack. Then 6 months later, in March 1991, a Sierra Leonean soldier again made a 17-page statement confirming the threat of an imminent border attack. Then, as in 1990, the report passed through the security structure, but there was no response again. So days later, from the Liberian border in the east of Sierra Leone, there were armed men who entered the country. So this alone tells us how the security sector was really responsible for the war in Sierra Leone. But why did they not consider all these reports? It's because the country, like I said in the beginning, the country was really corrupt. The administration didn't care about the welfare of soldiers or policemen. If they were motivated, that police or that soldier would have taken the report very seriously. But all what they were interested in was what to earn that day from the police station and take back home. Well, without saying much, let me at least any questions.